Well, welcome back to another episode here on Michelle Laine podcast. I have a beautiful guest with me today named Cassandra Rosa. And Cassandra is a certified healer and intuitive business coach. And she helps spiritual entrepreneurs create fulfilling lives and impactful businesses. I'm laughing because, like, whatever's coming out, like, it all wants to come out at one time right now. So we're just letting it roll. In her coaching practice, she loves to teach her clients how to clarify their path to their purpose, connect in their inner confidence, and create a fulfilling business they daydream about. I could totally relate to that, by the way. I can't wait to hear more from you. Cassandra Rosa is a Reiki master, an award winning speaker, an award winning author of her book, Now What? Create the Clarity to Achieve Your Dreams. And Cassandra is also a podcast host of a personal development and business podcast called Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Cassandra.
Thank you for having me. It's always such a blast to connect with like-minded people. So I really appreciate you having me.
I am so excited that you're here. Let's dive in today. I just by habit and curiosity myself, I love diving into people's journey. So if you would love to share, how did you become this beautiful presence in the world doing what you do?
I thank you for those kind words. So, from a very young age, I knew I wanted to make a difference in the world. I just didn't know what that meant. So, I thought I'd be a teacher or a psychologist. So, I went to school for psychology. And halfway through my degree, I had this big now what moment, this intuitive nudge for more than the mainstream way of becoming a psychologist. So, I ended up finishing my degree and I volunteered in Namibia, Africa, an after school program with kids mentoring them. And that's when it started to come in my field about mentorship. But this was 10 years ago. And back then, coaching, mentorship wasn't as big as it is now. So I ended up coming back from that life-changing experience and ended up in the family business of insurance. And I remember just cold calling different businesses and just daydreaming about helping people in a more grandiose way. So I don't know if it was because I was young or naive, but I ended up leaving, the corporate way, the family business, and I ended up just accidentally falling into personal development for myself. And it was just so transformational. And I started to feel this homecoming feeling of, wow, like this could be the way that I could impact the world. So, as that was all unfolding, I created my first business when I was 20 years old with a friend of mine doing vision board workshops at schools and community centers with kids. And it was just so amazing to see those light bulb moments and just made me want to have this kind of experience of transforming people and helping people to achieve their potential. So I've been in the industry now for a decade and 5 years full time in this capacity with intuitive life and business coaching. And it's just fulfills me deep to my core to just see people to see their potential and stand into it fully and start to create a ripple effect while they're sharing their gifts and their magic with the world. So that's the short version.
And I love and relate to it so much because I mean, I think after a while we hear this like live to your highest potential or find your purpose. But really, when it happens and you're in that transformational space, it is truly what you want to, I don't know, meet yourself at, right? Like, it's not just my highest potential, it's who do I become at each level of this next potential. And I
Mhm.
feel like sometimes we can get, I don't know, we are all like, I've had different feelings of, I couldn't wait to find myself there. And then I'll see different things sometimes online where people are like, yeah, yeah, potential, potential. But I feel like we're not actually letting ourselves dive into that. And so then the easiest way is to just talk ourselves out of it. So I think it's really important because enter business, enter entrepreneurship, and you're going to be welcomely invited into all the things that completely scare you, your limiting beliefs, and all those things that you get to move through, rise above, and really, really, really find yourself in that place of, I can do the thing I didn't think I could do before. So I would love to know, as you're helping your clients find their purpose and really land into how they want to express in the world, what is the most common thing that mm, all the clients that come your way, what is the gift that you help them really open up the most within themselves?
I think it's letting their intuition be their guide
Yeah.
because In life and in society, they make us feel like we're going to be doing one thing for the rest of our lives. And as multidimensional beings just living this human experience, there is so many seasons to life. Right? Just
Yep.
reflecting back on the past decade of the way that I thought I would make an impact in the world, right? Like there's been so many chapters and seasons of the divine unfolding. So it's really allowing people to go inward and trust their intuitive nudges that will allow them to guide them to whatever purpose means for them in that present moment. Because there's so much of a grand unfolding that takes place. So I think it's just like I kind of shared in my story, feeling this call for more or change in direction, giving themselves the courage to be able to follow their intuition in those moments and allowing them to achieve that potential and that purpose for that season in their lives.
Absolutely. And it's ever changing. I mean, I'm 50 of those decades in now, and life goes through phases. It goes through changes, and I don't believe we're meant to stay the same. I think energetically, since we are energetic beings, we either evolve or that energy dies off. Either way, it's going to die off and move into something else. I'm not saying we're going to die off, but if we're not listening to that call, if we're not following those nudges, if we're not igniting that creativity, then we can end up feeling that depression, that stuckness, that frustration. And it's only until we begin to realize that we just get to create more, that we go through this healing process that allows us to see what we couldn't see before. It's like awakens us from a slumber.
Yes.
So is intuition something that was always a part of your life, or did you learn it as you went through this process? I'm always curious to people's journeys.
Yeah. I feel like all of us have an intuition. It's just developing that sense of trust within of that natural gift that we have. So
Yeah.
for me, from a very young age, I could sense energies in people. I had this like innate knowing about things that I couldn't really explain. And in the beginning of my personal development journey, I was taking a course in a like old university theology building here in Toronto. And I started to see energy and feel spirit more deeper than I ever did before. And it caused a little bit of fear in me, to be honest, but also this sense of curiosity. So that's interestingly enough, when I started to, seek help and look for mentorship when it came to this energetic gift and stepped into Reiki, which I know that we both share in terms of a modality, to receive it, but I never saw it being such a big part of my life as it is now. So it was a lot of leaning into curiosity and overcoming the fear and the conditioning that people can have on us due to religion and social norms when it comes to intuition. And then it was learning all the different modalities for myself first, and then incorporating it into my business. I know when I started my business full time 5 years ago, it was goal setting, it was helping people become aware of what they wanted. And I remember I was having a session with a client and my angel card deck was beside me. And for whatever reason, I keep staring off to it. And I was like, hey, would you be open for me to pull some cards for you? She fell in love with it, and the more and more intuitive gifts that I would share with her, the bigger her transformation would be. So I actually started to incorporate it in my name and in my marketing, and I just saw my business explode to new levels of really integrating the tools that were impactful for me and sharing that authentically with people. So,
Yeah, I love that. Just for fun, like, and
hmm.
there's no pressure, you don't have to answer. But what are the modalities that caught your attention the most beyond the Reiki?
So it was Reiki to start, and then it was card readings, and then it was meditation, and then it was just incorporating light and
Yeah,
color into my meditations and my energy healing, just in a very simple and authentic way.
yeah,
Um, Using my body as a pendulum, like muscle testing. And then from there, just the curiosity opened up even further to all of the ways in which our intuition can guide us and all the tools that are available to us to support us in that journey.
yeah, I love that. I asked because in my journey, originally, it was like a fast and furious journey. Mine really opened up about 7 years ago. And then it was like me learning me for the first half of that, and then me really falling in love with those next breadcrumbs, like you're saying, to really advance intuition. And I love that there's so many modalities out there. And I remember the conflict I had most after I had learned a neurotransformational style of coaching, a little NLP, a little neurosomatic trauma healing. I loved it. And then my cousin was teaching like brain spotting, and I'm like learning this new therapy, and I'm like, do I have to pick one? Oh my gosh, like I'm supposed to be over here doing this, and I love this, but I love this too. And I didn't know yet that there was just so many ways to experience ourselves. And then once I had Reiki, I started to go, oh, like my brain started to understand about energy, about sensations, about our chakras, about our senses. And it just seems like everything kind of just followed on path after that, as is intended. I look back now and I'm like, well, of course. I'd ask the question each time. One, I asked, who am I? And that led to opening to meeting a mentor and speaking on stage and writing a book and all the things. And the second one was, is this all there is? Do we have to go back, or can we go forward?
Mhm.
Because I love healing. I'm not knocking healing, but I got to a point where I'm like, I feel like there's something more. That something more really pulls us, right? And then I met my next mentor, where I was invited into universal law, and around that time was kind of dabbling and listening to law of attraction through Abraham Hicks. And
Mhm.
then it just rippled into this big, we're all just meant to remember. And so anything that can bring us into an experience to know more who we are, trust who we are, believe in who we are, is such a beautiful, powerful experience if we let ourselves have it. And then on top of that, for you to be bringing that into business, there's so much uncertainty, because I hear so many stories just like you. I was in corporate, I felt a pull for something more. I don't even know why I was doing this thing, but I knew something different was coming. So you're helping these individuals move into more of a full expression of, does that become more of those same gifts, or just the way that they want to express it? What has your experience been?
Hmm. I think that a lot of people that cross my path and they're in the beginning of their journeys. So it's so interesting because there's this calling for more, and then all these possibilities are lining up. And there's a curiosity for when it comes to spirituality. Kind of reminds me of where I was at like a decade ago, which is so much fun to work with people that remind me so much of myself. So
Right.
it's really allowing them to lean into the possibilities and give themselves permission to try on these different things to see what's going to best support their season, right? I always love to use the example when it comes to tools and cultivating habits. It's like looking for like your favorite pair of jeans, right? You have to try on a few different pairs, and then when it feels good and it feels just right, those might be your go-to jeans for that season, and then you're ready for a different one, and then you'll move on to the next, so that
Yes,
experience. I think
it's such a
there's
good
so
analogy.
many possibilities, there's so many different things available, and I feel like there's almost like trends when it comes to these different modalities as well, based on the level of ascension of the collective in that moment. So it's giving themselves again that permission piece to explore and be in their childlike wonder and
Yeah.
approach life that way, of allowing their intuition to be their guide through all of it, personally and professionally. Because as people that are impactpreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs, right, we may lean into things for a season and then want to explore other things and add it to our tool belt as well. So I think it's cultivating that inner trust, knowing, and playful spirit that is a powerful way to allow the unfolding to take place.
I love that. I love the part about the playfulness in it, because we can get so serious and so hard on ourselves and be so driven for the dollar, or have to make this succeed, that we forget to play. And in the play is where we discover more of ourselves. And so I'm visualizing like all these different energy colors coming in as we're talking about this, representing all of the different modalities. But then as you're focusing on one and you step into that, it births into something bigger. Then you're like, well, what about if I do this? What if I do this? And even just naturally, you start finding yourself finding your own rhythm, which is the whole point, right? And we can be We can be inspired by those that led before us, but there's always going to be that inner unique way that you've come to express it, and the exact combination of situations that got you where you are that we try to avoid oftentimes, that are the very magic that makes you who you are. And that's why you can have coaching, I can have coaching, 10,000 other people can have coaching. I believe people are coded for us. And as we start speaking and sharing our voice, they're like, something's resonating here, right? So it's this lack of competition, but rather this rising up of sharing all of this in the world, because it's going to take all of us. There's billions of people
In
to be.
collaboration, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Collaborating and that energy. And I'm kind of seeing, I can't remember the actual name for it, but there's like, is it Venn diagrams that it's like little circles and they overlap and there's that little part in the middle of, from back in the school days. It kind of is like our both unique, sharing our unique stories and flair, and having that commonality in which that we can come together and create something beautiful together. And I think that this energy of collaboration and community is so powerful and so potent right now, and allows for even a bigger unlocking of our potentials and our impact and that ripple effect. Like lately, the past like 6 months, I keep seeing this image of like the water dropping and then the ripple.
Yeah,
And
totally.
like us are in uniquely like doing our own little water droplet, and the ripples kind of cascading together, right? There's something so powerful of coming together and following our own intuitive nudges of collaborating. That's why I love podcasting so much. It's
I
such
know.
a
Well, that's why we're here today,
yeah,
because we were just like, hey, I like that vibe. Hey, I like that vibe. And
yeah,
we got on a conversation, and
yeah.
that's how it works. Like, as we decide to become that ripple, the universal law of cause and effect, like it ripples out, but it also creates much more momentum and impact on a global consciousness
Yes.
scale, like on the quantum particle side of it that we won't get into, but like it does literally ripple. And for every person who's willing to do that heart-centered work and come back to themselves and choose that love frequency over fear, it's a much stronger frequency. It heals all things, and it does connect us, it unifies us. And I think that that ripple then becomes the next bigger ripple that goes further, which is so beautiful. Tell
Mm.
us about your podcast. Like, how long have you been podcasting? And then have you noticed yourself change as you said yes to this opportunity for yourself?
Yeah, so I've been podcasting since 2020. I'm
Mhm.
on to my second podcast now called Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur. It's really about just creating a stage for beautiful women like yourself, because you're going to be a guest, which is so exciting. I can't wait.
Fun.
Episode should be out now as you're all watching this. Um, just to just share what fulfillment means to them, the most fulfilling part of their work, and just have a stage to share about their purpose, their mission in the world, in the hopes of helping you to create more fulfillment in your life and your business. So it's just such powerful conversations. I love to hear the unique perspectives about what fulfillment means to every single person. I've talked to probably 70 people up until this point, and no definition has been the same. So it's so powerful work. But yeah, like how I've changed in this process, it's such a beautiful unfolding. I love to take, even just like one golden nugget from every guest that I have come on. And it's just beautiful to connect with people all over the world again, to like, change the energy of the planet in such a beautiful and unique way. So
Absolutely. I love that. So I love that your conversation around fulfillment, it's one that I love too, because I've experienced enough life now where we've had the highest of highs and we've had the lowest of lows. And it was never the thing that brought the fulfillment, right?
mm,
And I love this conversation because we can overlook fulfillment. Yeah, yeah, fulfillment. And then get right back into like the daily everything, right? But
mm,
truly, this inner sense of that trust, that inner sense of knowing and belief in yourself, and the ability to actually be truthful with yourself, to be like, okay, cut the baloney. What's really going on when I don't look anywhere else but right here? When I start seeing patterns kind of circulate over and over again, thinking it's everyone else, but we come back to this. When we can have that beautiful sense of self responsibility and come even deeper, there's always another layer for us to birth in that. Now, for me, I'm pretty candid with like, I was scared patookie. And like, for the trust and belief in myself to do something different after so long, and then later to be seen as somebody who loved numbers, whose intuition was blooming, who was somatically connecting to bodies and like helping people heal. Like, I had a really hard time saying, this is me.
Mm.
And I think it's because of the extra decades of this is who you should, needed, or have to have been, right?
Yes.
Which was all in my mind anyway. It was all perceived as what I thought should, need to, or have to be. And the fulfillment for me has truly come from being unapologetically me, knowing what that feels like, letting myself have that permission slip to let go, to explore, to be curious, and to go where most people won't go. Because in the depths of those experiences, I really did discover who I was. So, on the flip side of that, as we began, and you started offering these healing sessions and you started using your intuition in your business skills and with that incredible history of psychology teachings, and I hear this so often, so I'm curious what your answer will be. Where did you realize that there was more than just, I'm going to say the box. Sorry, I apologize. I
Yeah.
don't know what to say, like the box that we're taught to be in, because it
Mm.
feels like an internal cage sometimes that we don't recognize we've got ourselves locked into.
It was a messy process. It was when I was in university, it was interesting. There was this whole concept of going on an exchange. So I did an exchange in the Netherlands. And in that moment, I was just seeing so much more than what I was taught of like the North American way of like following the structure of society, right? Of like, first you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job forever, you get a home, you have kids, you retire. And I start to see, ooh, like there's possibilities to be outside of the box. So I think it was going on my exchange, volunteering in Africa, seeing the world, seeing the possibility outside of the mainstream way of things really created this sense of curiosity and openness. And once I was outside of the box, then it made me curious being like, well, what else could be outside the box for me?
Right.
And I
Right.
remember going through that feeling very anxious, very depressed, having a big now what moment. I wrote about this a lot in my book of like, I know there's more for me, but if there was a thought bubble coming out of my head, it's just question marks.
Yeah.
Like, how can I take this leap of faith towards something I don't even know?
Hmm.
So it was like such a vast experience that felt dark at times. I'm not going to lie. And I think a lot of people that go through these moments in life of transition, it's so out of our conditioning that there's no perceived next step and there's no perceived safety blanket that all these societal norms and family norms create for us. So it's such an expansive time in my life, but I think it was I didn't know it was intuition back then, but trusting that need for more that allowed me to navigate towards it and give me that motivation to be able to be in the quote, air quotes, like darkness
Right.
and face the fears head on and being able to move through it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, I do. It does. And yes. So, what I want to say from that is, I think that's the journey. Like
Mhm.
the darkness coming through the shadow of what we didn't think was possible or what was painfully hard to let go of, to get to the other side, to trust that something's going to be there, right?
Mhm.
That's where the trust and the belief, for me, the real nugget is in letting go and trusting more in the unknown versus having all the plan A, B, and C's in place. Because that
Yeah.
doesn't leave any room for the universe to meet us in what we say that we want. And it doesn't give us any room to explore ourselves beyond what we've already known. So I
Yeah.
think it's really powerful that you met your fear
Mhm.
and you did it anyway. And I think part of that leap of faith is trusting by doing, not doing to burn out, but like doing by taking the action to see who you become on the other side of it, that you didn't blow up, die, or fall down. And
Yeah.
every time that you didn't do that, you stood up and said, oh, I've been here. I can do this again. And I think that's the gift that we can give ourselves, however it unfolds and however the timeline is for that for us. For some, it takes longer. For some, it's quicker. It doesn't matter. It's, will you keep going? And will you recognize when you are on the outside of that comfort zone ready to take that next big leap, and take a deep breath and know that you're going to be okay, that you got you, right? And you learned it by living outside of the norm of the cycle, which is
Mhm.
so beautiful. What would you tell somebody? What advice would you give them since you have been traveled? And maybe they're younger and just finishing school, or maybe they're having this moment like I'm in the later part of our life. So all of a sudden we just want to travel. What message would you give to that?
Yeah, I think it's outside of age. Now, what moments happen throughout our lifetime?
That's right.
Ending school, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, right? Calling for more, intuitive nudges. I think it's just giving yourself permission to act in spite of your fears.
Yeah.
And follow that nudge, that thing that just keeps coming up in the back of your mind, that daydream that you're thinking about when you're in the corporate job and just seeking for more. Give yourself that permission to act in spite of the fears, make the difficult decisions, and just allow yourself to follow that intuition, that intuitive nudge, because there is a gift for you in that moment. You might not understand why, but there is a divine purpose for it. So, yeah, I think
That's
changing the relationship with fear is so huge. I've really leaned into it being like a compliment when it comes to personal growth. It means your soul is so confident by you taking that step that there's a golden nugget that awaits you, that there is such huge transformation and evolution that comes on the other side of that. So give yourself permission to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. I like put a pin in that for our conversation relationship, because it all stems from this inner relationship with who we are and our relationship with everything else. And so when you can literally take one thing at a time based off what's most important to you right now, you get to understand that that relationship is the key code to more of what you want, right? Because it gets to be redefined. So where can people find you? And I think that you have a free gift for the audience. You wanna talk-
Yeah, so CassandраRosa.com has access to everything, my book, my podcast, all the marvelous ways to work with me. My Instagram is Cassandra Rosa A. I love to hang out there. Come connect, say hi. And a free gift. So I have the Confident Entrepreneur Journal, which has 22 journal prompts to help you to work through the self-doubt and the fear so that you can confidently start your business or step into it more fully. So you're able to go check that in. I'm sure that you're going to link it somewhere for them to connect with.
Yep,
Um,
that was the next thing I was going to say. We'll link all that in the show notes.
yeah, it's just this invitation to go deeper. I feel like how my business is evolving in this moment as we record this is, like in entrepreneurship and in personal development, we focus on the external world more, that moreness, the more sales, the more money, the more impact. But what I've found more and more for myself is giving yourself the space to go deep within and go inward and do things like applying the journal prompts from the guide that allows for a transformation within, which will by proxy change your external world and your business.
Yeah,
So I invite you to go deep within yourself and allow that unfolding to take place.
that's such good advice. So, how I end my episodes is by asking some form of question. I usually just roll with it, but today feels really apropos to ask, what is your definition of prosperity?
Ooh. I think people would define it that might not be as awake as we are with no judgment. It's connected so much to money for a lot of people. What I've realized about fulfillment, prosperity, abundance, all of these concepts is that it's really cultivated within. Seeing the prosperity within myself of all of the breakthroughs, all of the moments, all of the gratitude, all the fulfillment, that is truly prosperity with me. And when I really embody that, it allows me to see the world in a new lens of all of the prosperity that is outside of me. Like all the prosperous amount of raindrops falling from the sky and sand that's on a beach and, moments, all the series of moments that we've had even in this conversation, that is prosperity. So
Oh, Speaking my language. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful magic and your soul today with us. And I'm so excited that we were able to connect and have you here so we can keep rippling out this beautiful messaging and beautiful hope, presence, purpose for anyone listening in who's like, I think I can do that too.
I love that. Thank you for having me. It's been such a blast connecting with you.
You are most welcome. All right, you guys, we'll catch you again next week for a new episode. Until then, bye for now.
Bye.